Sometimes in life, the hardest moments are not the loud ones filled with chaos, arguments, or visible failure. The hardest moments are often the quiet ones. They come when everything around you appears calm, yet something deep inside feels painfully unsettled. These are the moments when you have prayed sincerely, waited patiently, and done everything you believed was right, yet nothing seems to move forward. No answers arrive. No doors open, no relief comes. In those moments, silence can feel heavier than noise. It can feel personal. You begin to wonder if your prayers reached heaven at all. You begin to question whether God is listening or whether he has turned his attention elsewhere. Slowly, without realizing it, hope begins to fade. And when hope fades, faith often struggles to breathe. But what if that silence is not abandonment? What if the waiting is not punishment? What if the pain you are experiencing right now is not the end of your story, but the shaping of something far greater than you can imagine? What if the very thing you are questioning today is the foundation of the miracle you will one day thank God for? This is the story of a man who believed he had lost everything, only to discover that what he thought was his greatest tragedy was actually his greatest rescue. His name was Elias. Elias lived a simple, ordinary life. He was not wealthy, powerful, or widely known. He worked hard, treated others with kindness, and carried a quiet faith in his heart. He did not pray loudly or seek attention for his beliefs. His faith was private, sincere, and deeply rooted. He trusted God not because life was easy, but because he believed God was good, even when life was not. One day, Elias boarded a large ship that was preparing to cross the open sea. It was meant to be an ordinary journey, nothing more than a passage from one place to another. The sky was clear, the ocean was calm, and the air carried no hint of danger. Passengers moved about the deck with ease, unaware that within hours everything would change. As night fell, the weather shifted without warning. Dark clouds gathered overhead, thick and heavy. The wind grew stronger, pushing against the ship with increasing force. Waves began to rise, crashing against the hull as thunder roared through the sky. Lightning cut through the darkness, illuminating faces filled with fear. The ship fought against the storm, but it was no match. Water flooded the deck faster than it could be cleared. Wood splintered, metal groaned under pressure. Panic spread as passengers realized the truth. The ship was sinking. Cries echoed into the night. Lives were pulled beneath the waves. Elias remembered the freezing water, the overwhelming darkness, the terror that filled his chest. He struggled to breathe, to stay afloat, to survive. And then, everything went black. When Elias opened his eyes, sunlight pierced his vision. He felt warmth beneath his body and heard the gentle rhythm of waves nearby. He lay on soft sand, weak and disoriented, but alive. Slowly, reality set in. The ship was gone. The people were gone. He was alone. There was no sign of civilization, no smoke in the distance, no boats on the horizon, only endless ocean, quiet skies, and the unsettling silence of isolation. Elias walked along the shoreline for hours, calling out, hoping someone, anyone, might hear him. But the only response was the wind and the sea. As night fell, he sat on the sand and looked up at the stars. His heart felt heavy, but he prayed. "Lord," he whispered, "I don't understand why I survived. I don't understand why I am here. But I know my life was spared for a reason. Please help me. Please send help." He waited. The next day passed, then another, and another. No ship appeared. No rescue came. Days turned into weeks, and hope slowly became harder to hold. Elias continued praying, but his prayers grew quieter, not because his faith disappeared, but because disappointment weighed on his heart. Eventually, he realized that survival could not depend on rescue alone. If he wanted to live, he had to act. He gathered branches and leaves to build a small shelter. He learned to catch fish with simple tools. He collected coconuts from the trees for food and water. His body adapted, but his spirit struggled. Nearly 20 days passed, and by then Elias had accepted what he believed was his fate. He convinced himself that this island was where his story would end. Hope felt like a luxury he could no longer afford. One afternoon, Elias left his shelter to gather food. When he returned, smoke filled the air. His heart dropped as he ran toward the shelter. Flames had consumed everything. His food, his tools, his only protection, gone. Elias fell to his knees, overwhelmed by grief and anger. Tears streamed down his face as he cried out, "God, why? I prayed, I trusted you. This was all I had." That night, he lay on the sand, exhausted, broken and bitter. He blamed God for his suffering, convinced that he had been forgotten. Eventually, sleep overtook him. At dawn, a loud sound shattered the silence. Elias opened his eyes and saw something he never expected: a large ship anchored near the island. His heart raced. He ran toward the shore, waving his arms desperately. Moments later, he was pulled aboard. Safe, alive, rescued. Still trembling, Elias asked the captain how they had found him. The captain answered simply, "We saw smoke rising from the island. We knew someone must be there." In that moment, understanding flooded Elias's heart. The fire that destroyed his shelter was the signal that saved his life. What he believed was cruelty was actually mercy. What he believed was loss was actually rescue. As the ship sailed away, Elias wept, not from pain, but from clarity. God had answered his prayer, just not in the way he expected. The shelter he clung to was never meant to save him. The island he feared was never meant to hold him. And the fire he cursed was the very thing that led him home. In our own lives, we experience moments just like this. Moments when prayers feel unanswered, when plans fall apart, and when hope feels fragile. But we see only one page of the story, while God sees the entire book. Sometimes he removes what we cling to because it stands in the way of our rescue. Sometimes what feels like destruction is actually direction. If you are going through a difficult season right now, remember this: just because you do not understand God's plan does not mean there is no plan. Do not lose hope. Do not give up faith. Before God closes one door, he opens another. Thank you for listening to this story. If it touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe for more stories of hope and faith. May you be blessed with strength, peace, and clarity. And may you always remember that God has a plan for you, Anne.